So let's do Vitality next, obviously. Right, mate, this is another team where, like, I want to tell them within context, like, yeah, not a bad split, you know, you're in these games, you could have gone further. But the reason why that's such a bomber to me, and I want to get your take on this first, is I actually low-key think now that Hylissang doesn't int, I get why this roster was made. I actually, before winter, did hype them. I thought they were going to be like fourth best team in the LEC or something, right? The reason I hyped them was I looked and I was like, mate, I know the Photon guys cracked. Again, I don't follow the Reddit narrative. So when I was watching that Vitality team collapse the year before with Perks and upset and that, the Photon guy, it was never that he was bad, guys. It's more like he was just, I always thought he just looked like he was in solo queue. He was just really good top lane, but he couldn't connect to the team. And I don't think people played for him, quite frankly. I think he's mega talented. So I think he's a stud still. I don't think he did anything wrong here. You look at the bot lane now sorted, because I agree with you. Karzi's cracked, mate. You notice no one talks in G2 games about Hans Sama now. Like, he's not really having to be the super carry at this point in time. Caps carries half the game. So I actually think Karzi is fucking really good. And then you go and look at the rest of the team. Vethio's pretty good now. He's even evolved a little bit. The obvious problem, and I want to get your take as a jungler, is this. This is another player who's not had much time in Douglas, but it's making it look like, because these other names, we know what they've done in the past, they've been elite players, they played well, so it's making it look like he's either bad or he isn't right for this team. What is your sense for this player?
Yeah, I mean, that's the sense I have too, to be honest. Like, I think Douglas as a player is good. And that's like, but that's it. He's just good. But it doesn't seem like he has his own idea of how to actually play jungle. A lot of the things that he's doing, like even in the series, where they play versus Fnatic, where he's doing like level 3 dive mid, level 3 gank mid. And he could have actually just, if he was adapting in the game, he would easily just look to deny Razork instead or invade him. But to me, it seems like when I'm watching Vitality play, it's like everyone tells him exactly what he needs to do. Hey, look, you're going to play Volibear, you're going to do 3 camps, and you're going to gank mid. And if you do anything else, you know, and he just seems not the right fit for the team. And I think this is something that I was talking about before as well when I was making a video on Hylissang. And I was showcasing Hylissang is actually the key player of that team. And he's carrying their like really bad jungle mid synergy and jungle sub synergy. And Hylissang is actually the only one who is actually trying to, you know, salvage that. And I think when I was looking at the team before as well, I knew that they were going to run it down like in the winter season. Because when you play with a player like Hylissang, like you have to learn how to play with him.
Sure.
Because he's going to play his own way, like no matter what. Yes. Like you have to adapt to him. And now when we come into spring, it looks like people are actually getting to know Hylissang. They're like, oh, he goes for this all the time. Oh, I guess we just have to follow. But there are like so many situations where Douglas will be like on the other side of the map when they're making a top lane dive play. And Hylissang is like always there in the right position, but his jungler is like one step behind. And one thing I haven't seen like with Douglas and Viteo is like, I haven't seen them many times actually just go through mid, push out the wave, and then just move together. It's always like Hylissang being there and then leading the play and making them go there. And when you watch Douglas play, it just seems like he's being kind of micromanaged by Hylissang or Karzi, and they're just telling him like, hey, yeah, come bot here. No, let's go top. And he's just kind of like following into it. But there's nothing to take away from Douglas. I do think he's like a good player overall, but it's just not, that's all he is for now. Just he's a good player, he proved, but that's it. And he was kind of saved by playing Rel like most of his games. It was like he was playing Rel like I don't know how many games, but there's like many until they started banning it for him. But yeah, I think someone like, I think you guys talked about it too, but like if you have Bo on that team, like Bo, Hylissang, like I would pay to see that. Like Bo and Hylissang both on the same team, like these two guys just they could actually be a contender for like being top 1 or contesting G2, I think. And I think Karzi Hylissang, like this split, they honestly, to me, they look like the best bot lane in Europe right now. And I was so sad when I see them lost. But I kind of expected it because I just think like them having such a poor mid jungle synergy and sub jungle synergy is just gonna hurt them in the long run. Like the better teams you play versus, it's gonna be like much more of a weakness.
This is where I've got a theory for you, and I want to see what you think as someone who played at pro level and has obviously been around the scene and even most recently played last year. It goes like this. I actually think one of the interesting things from watching LEC all these years is you've seen the evolution of how people general manage teams. So in the early days, it basically players made the teams and they just got the player that they think's really good. And back then, actually, you didn't need as much cohesion. There wasn't as many set players. There wasn't like setups for objectives in the same way. You sort of just play off skill and you play a bit like, it's actually Swedish way that you play Counter-Strike. You play a bit loosey loosey-goosey and just let the stars do what the stars do. And if you have Expecki and Soaz, they basically win the game for you and do all the genius moves, and you just do whatever, right? As we've evolved and we've gotten teams that can play together and could team fight, and then they could side lane and they could do the objective control. I feel like in the modern day, the area I think GMs lack, because I agree with you, by the way, almost none of the players we're talking about are like, should just be out of LEC. It's not like, right, you just can't play this stuff. You're fired, get out, leave. They could all, in theory, be on a team. And some of them, by the way, could even be on much better teams. All their teams would be much better if they swapped. And sometimes, this is the key point, you could even swap. Sometimes I actually think you could even swap some weaker players if they fit what you need onto a team and make some of the squads we're talking about better. So that's the evolution, I think, in general managers is this. Because we have these coaches that are in this position now, people like Peter Dunn, people like Mac, and the reputation is they're geniuses. They'll find talent and then they'll mold them, right? We've got to stop that mold thing, as in you can tweak a player. You can help him like, hey, like, let's like limit a bit of this here. And then like, we're going to use this. You can't take a player though, for example, this is like that conversation about the Flackhead one. You can't take Flackhead and go Flackhead. You know what, mate? You're actually upset. The whole game's going to go for you from now on. You're on hyper carries and we're just going to peel, and in team fights, you're going to fucking pentakill them. Like, that's not molding. That's telling him like, become a different person. Like, he can't do that. And that'd be insane to think a coach would have. There's no time for that. You don't do it. You figure out drafts and scrims and tell them things from Korean games and stuff. That's not even the job. So I think the area we made a mistake is this. I think these GMs are picking players that I can see they've got qualities, but I think the level up needs to be this. You need to look, who are my best players? Because the stars, the good thing about LEC is they're very set. We know how they play. We know what they're the best at. We know, look at your stars and don't say, is this the best jungler I can recruit now? This is what you say. Is this the right jungler for Vethio? Is this the right jungler to play with Hylissang? If you're on another team, Heretics, is this the player that's going to mean that then when Wonder weak sides, we're winning the game because he can't be put behind, he doesn't need any resources? Is this the ADC that's good? No, I think you need to ask what you needed, not how good the player is, and not like this thing of like, well, I'll work with him. Hey, like, because think about how much time you'll be wasting telling like a jungler, for example, who doesn't have like a shot calling mindset and wants to be told what to do. Oh no, you need to take agency and initiative. Like, you can add so many extra. I feel like that's like the hardest route. That's trying to swim up the stream and go up the waterfall. You want to find a way to go with the current. You know what I mean? With what already is working and flow that. What's your take?
No, absolutely. I think just a lot of the rosters that's been put together are just not fitting for each other in that case. Because I think you could take a player like Flackhead and then replace him with Upset, and then Heretics might actually look really good because they need someone to actually lead and they get the firepower that they need, right? But then at the same time, a lot of these like rosters, how they're being made is a lot of times it's very random because it's like, oh, this guy was available. Let's just put him in here. He's the best that we have right now. Let's get him out there. And it just either it's, I don't know if it's the coaches making. I know that it's the GMs making the decisions most of the time. Because a lot of times when I hear other players, they were like, oh, like when Trimby got replaced out of Fnatic, they were like, oh, we had no idea.
Oh, they all shocked, yeah.
They're like, oh, okay. I mean, we had a pretty good season and we made it Worlds. And it's just like, they're just making these decisions for them. And same with when Perks got replaced.
Yep.
And they're just kind of like, oh, our scrims were actually doing pretty good.
Yeah, that's what they said.
But it's like, that's the problem with the rosters that are all being built. There's no like actual cohesive thought behind, will they actually fit together? It's more about like what's available, and he was good on paper. Let's throw him in here, because I just think there's so many rosters that could actually be good in the LEC if we actually get the players that they need together. Like but I think there's that's what's been hurting us for like the past years, because I think there are many good players out there, but they're just not in the right environment. And that's also a skill of a coach, like being able to understand what your players need. Like if you have Upset, I would put like more dogs around him that would actually follow him and play around bot. Like I wouldn't put like a super carry on top and then a super carry jungler. Like super carry jungler and Upset. Like if you know what kind of player Upset is, since I played with him,
he wants the dog jungler, doesn't he?
He wants the dog jungler, and he's very like when he has the dog jungler and people just do what he says, then he's really good, right? Like everyone plays towards him. Like you have a Niski in there. Okay, he's always reusing his prior and he's roaming bot. He's helping out Upset. Upset becomes the carry.
Yes.
And that's like perfect. And then you also need people who are willing to go in with Upset. Like you had Hylissang Upset when they were together. They look great together. But that's the thing. There's just it's very sad to see that there's not many rosters that are well thought when they put them together.
Yes.
In order to like complement each other, because that's how a roster is supposed to be. It's like, okay, we have this carry top laner. Let's make sure we get a good jungler that they can skirmish around top side, and then we get like a weak side bot lane. because we have a strong top side, but you don't do like a very strong jungler, a strong bot lane, and a strong top lane. It's like, okay, who are we playing around, guys? And then everyone's also gonna, because when I was mentioning to you about the like heretics, when you were talking about like, oh, let's get in. Wait, who was it? The player you said, another shot caller. Crowny.
Oh, Crown shot.
Yeah, Crowny. You said right. And it's like, yeah, Crowny is a really good player, but probably not in that team because Crowny is a very demanding player as well. He needs shot calls, and they already have enough voices, so it just becomes like a very chaotic, and the team doesn't have like a clear playstyle. And that's why I also think Mad Lions worked really well. It was really simple. Elioya, you do the shot calling, and we're gonna play whatever you say. She's like, I want to play bot side, and they play bot side, and it's like there's no disagreement there. And that was a very well put together roster, honestly. So yeah, I think a big part about the team being successful is about having players complement each other's strengths and weaknesses in order to actually become good.
Yeah, two quick things. I've definitely referenced these on past episodes, but I'll reiterate. One of the reasons why I bristle a little bit at like the LEC is trash angle is because I agree if you just look at the, especially if you watch LCK and LPL guys, they're just not as clean. They can't pull off some of the players. They can't accelerate like top lane carries like they can in those regions. There's certain things you just can't do, right? But my problem is this. I guess what I bristle at is I think the implication, because a lot of it's NA and LCS fans getting their chance to get back at us and be like, you're trash too. It's like, here's why you're trash in a way we aren't though, guys. You couldn't mix all your rosters up and make like 4 amazing rosters that would beat us. The difference is literally the LEC right now. I actually think the player talent is very good. I just think that they're like, they're just mismatched. Like I say, it's like someone took the names and just put them in a hat and drew them out. Oh, you just get these 5 players. No, I've got like 3 players that work together and 2 that don't. Like there's a classic thing in League that used to be the shot calling concept. It's the same for teams. It's the idea that like it's better to have 5 players follow a bad plan than 5 players do their own version of a good plan. And that I think that applies to rosters. Like you can have 5 good players, but I even think sometimes teams like Fnatic do this. You can have 5 good players, but if they don't have the same synergy, if they don't have the same idea of the game, and especially if they don't have like, for example, a way to communicate their idea of the game if they're just playing separately. Like I always say about, I'll go back on that one. I want to get your take on the Photon guy, mate, because I have to say, I don't think I'm like an expert about the strategy of the game. I'm not even that good in the draft. I don't play it at the high level. I've never tried that angle. But I do think I'm good at low and player performance because I've watched a lot of matches of League of Legends in my life. And I have to say, mate, the whole time I've seen this Photon guy play, I don't think he's good, mate. I think he's really fucking good. Like I actually think for real, if it doesn't work out in LEC, I think he could go back to LCK and be an LCK, mate. I think they might even take him on a good team. Like he actually looks like he has real talent because I'm thinking to myself, he has to be speaking second language English. He's on a team with like a weird environment. I guarantee he's never been in an environment before, by the way, where you have people like flaming each other and shit like that. Like that ain't the Korean way, you know. So considering all that, like to me, he's somewhat held back in a way. I'm sure he does some of it himself. Like I say, I don't know if he actually. I do feel like sometimes he's not on the comms channel when he gets those leads in top lane. Like, it feels like he can't say you'll group around me now or whatever. But what do you think? This guy looks talented to me, mate.
I mean, I think he's extremely good, and one of the like key reasons why Vitality was even doing as good as they were doing, because he was the only guy like consistently always getting ahead in his matchup. He plays, and you know the meme of like Korean Jace. Yep. But when he plays Jace, it looks fucking broken. Like it actually looks good. Yes. But the thing is, the vibe I get when I watch them like play, I think they made an attempt to like play for Photon and like play topside. But it went so bad in scrims that they were like, okay, fuck it. Just leave Photon on his island, let him do his job and let him do well. And that's why we see kind of the Photon that we see today. It's like, he will do really good and he will like do what he has to and try to carry, but they're not going to like fully play towards topside. Like it's going to be around Karzi Hillsang because they know exactly how to actually snowball a lead and they can actually like direct the game in a way where they don't actually need to play around Photon. But I think he's really good and he could definitely be like in a playoffs team in LCK. And I even thought he was like good last year as well, even though like they had a complete disaster split. But I really like him. I think he's super good, honestly.
No, I'll even give you an example of like a swap just to show what I mean by like, I think he's in the wrong team too. I'll tell you a swap I would do immediately. You can disagree if you want. If I was Heretics and I was Vitality, mate, just swap Wunder for Photon. Haven't we just sort of fixed both of our teams? Like, think of the fucking... Now you can play through top side if you're the guys. Flackhead's going to play that weak side. Why would you have Karzi if you're going to have a carry top laner? You know what I mean? Like, I agree with you, by the way. Karzi probably the best ADC in the West right now. He's fucking sick. And if you actually load him up with resources... I've always said this. What changed my mind on Karzi, it's not just that... He wasn't, like, secretly always amazing and I was just a hater. It's that the game did change. In the same way as why Reckless doesn't make sense as an ADC and as a result doesn't even play ADC anymore. That's why now Karzi does make sense as an ADC. He knows knows actually that like LPL style of how you play ADC, where it isn't like you wait on the edge of the 5v5 team fight, like you kite back on the fucking tank that's coming in on you, and then you just get like a pentakill by right clicking all the chat. That's not League of Legends for years now, guys. It really is now. Like you go in and you have to basically just push it to the fucking limit. You have to redline the car like this, and you're almost going off the track, and then you're just hoping all your teammates peel, do all the shit, keep the CC off, you're going to flash, dodge, everything. The million spell rotations are coming in. Kazi thrives like that though, right? It's why when Hylissang actually doesn't int, bro, they're fucking awesome together, because Hylissang's going in too. Kazi clearly wants you to go in with him when he goes in like that.
Yeah. I have to disagree on like the Photon and Wonder change. But the reason I disagree on it is because Photon is one of the extra win condition resources that they have in Vitality. So a lot of games, like you're saying, like Hylissang will run it down, or Karza will have those like 0-14 bot lane, you know? And the only reason they're able to even contest in those games is because Photon is doing so well. So if they remove that Photon guy, they put Wonder there, and now Hylissang and Karza ints, and now it's like, Viteo, could you carry please? You know? But now they have like Photon, who's like, okay, we all inted, but guys, our top lane is really strong, we can still play around them.
Right.
So I think Photon like really fits the team in the sense that even if Karza Hylissang will int, like they will still have that guy. Like that guy can still make a difference in the game, and he's gonna do really well on his counter picks as well. So yeah, that's why.
Fair enough. Also, by the way, I do think I agree with you. People they do this every time with Hylissang. He has had, like in winter, and then obviously last year, 2 years ago when he was in Fnatic, he has had certain splits where he just mega ran it down. Like because his problem is he has no brakes. Like even when the car's going off the cliff, his logic is like, well, if I drive faster, maybe I can jump over the cliff. And it's like, no, now you just go even faster off the cliff, you know? But the problem is this, when he turns it around, because part of his impulse to go for those moves is so unique in his genius, he obviously can be a mega win condition. So I think most people think he just wasn't shit. Like as the split went on, actually, he is one of the reasons why actually this team could do something, why they could contest the best teams. Like, as you say it, especially with the Douglas component. Imagine if instead you'd had like a really conservative support there. I think the Douglas guy would be completely on an island and they just wouldn't even be in these games, because the Hylissang angle will always give you, like, as much as he can feed, he can also find you a crazy pick. Or he can start a fight that you never could engage otherwise.
Yeah, that one as well. Like, he's the one that's actually always starting a fight because he is playing so aggressive. He is walking up in enemy team's face. He's forcing a fight when they are strong. And yes, he had a terrible season, like in winter, right? But Hylissang, if you know him as a player, we've watched him long enough to understand that, like, he will have those grief seasons where he will just run it the fuck down, and there will be no mercy on his team and the enemy team. But then when he actually gets into that form where he gets used to his own team, his team gets used to him and how he plays, then they look like a contender. Like, they look really good. And I think Hylissang is like, if they had like more a conservative support, like you say, I think they would just be farming until waiting to lose. And that's what would happen when they are ahead. They'll be like, okay, let's take it down. Let's wait for them to come into us. Now Hylissang is like, we're strong. I'm going to face check everything and I'm going to walk in, follow me, or lose the game. It's like, okay, we follow. Hylissang says, and we follow. And that's it. And he's the one who's able to like make the team snowball as fast as they do because of how Hylissang plays. But yeah, of course, I'm not going to defend him and be his lawyer and say like, he's playing always good. No, he is a griefer at times. And that is true. But when he's in form, like now him and Karzi, they look fucking great together.
Yes.
Like they can play anything in bot lane as well, and they win most of the matchups on bot lane. Like even in the first game that they played versus, I think it was the second game versus Fnatic, like they were stomping bot, and then they botched the dive, and now they're behind it, right? But it's in the first place that it's even possible to dive bot, and I love Hylissang. I'm a big fan of him. I think he's one of the like few supports who's actually trying to reinvent the support role and show how useless it is to die. And that's what you should do as a support. You should be starting fights and get your team when they are strong. You should be starting any fight and making sure that you can snowball. And that's what he really excels at.
It's the other reason why when he has the mega bad split, even though when you're watching week to week to week, it feels like he's just done. He's just washed. Get rid of him. The reason why it is so hard to actually kick him is because if you kick him and he goes to another team and then he has the bounce back and it switches to the engagement, you are going to feel so fucking stupid. It's a bit like, you remember the story, guys, when everyone decided Mickey X isn't that good in G2 anymore, is he? Then he went to XL, the team that everyone knew was never ever a threat. And they were like winning they were like second in the league or something crazy. He was like an MVP candidate. And everyone, and even G2 were like, fuck, get him back immediately. Like, with a player like that, when the upside is that crazy, unfortunately, you do have to balance that against the downside. You can't, this isn't like if a rookie came in and entered like that, I'd go, well, look, I don't know that you can do anything better. So yeah, replace him, get someone else. I agree. I think with Hylissang, you just have to, it's sweet and sour. Sometimes it's sweet, sometimes it's sour. By the way, the cool thing about it as well is I agree with you. You can't only, I guess you're right. I can't play as cynically as I would, where it's like I have the weak side top lane all the time and I just go through bot lane, because even in the games Hylissang is winning, he does it risky. He'll just throw you. He'll give you a chance. It's like he's an Englishman.
Nice guy.
I'll give you a sporting chance. You know what? I'm winning too much. I tell you what, you have a free shot. Go on. And sometimes you get knocked out when that happens in the Hylissang game. You know.
Yeah, no, for sure. No, but that's why I love to watch him play. I'm really sad that they actually lost. I think I would have liked to see them at MSI and just see their like chaotic.
After seeing the way this whole series went, mate, I have to say the obvious team for me is I wanted it to be G2 Vitality. I'm with you. At least there was like some aspect. I mean, by the way, even just like how would Photon, the lane at the MSI would be interesting. I think you go head to head with some of those tops. Kazi's really good. Like, I think you've got players there. The problem with the other teams is, like, Heretics, I definitely didn't want to go. BDS, I'm so scared they're going to go because I think they're going to get absolutely murked. Like, I think that'll be embarrassing. See more cool, funny, interesting clips based on topics from my content? Well, subscribe to this channel then, or, you know, be a pleb and don't.